Welcome to the Cycles of Radiance podcast, a weekly conversation tailored for Gen X Black women and women of color who balance faith, family, friendship, career, and love. Through storytelling and laughter, we embrace the triumphs, challenges, and aspirations experienced by women of color. Your hosts, Joanna Kemper, Dana Middleton, and Stacey Givens, are faith-filled entrepreneurial women who are redefining success on our journey towards well-being. Find us on Instagram at Cycles of Radiance.
Hi.
Hey,
Welcome. Hey. Welcome to Cycles of Radiance, where we always have some kind of shenanigans that we're working our way through. So, Stacey, I'm gonna let you you just hit me with like a question, and I'm like, I don't even know where to begin on that. So,
Well, now let's see.
mm,
So, Pastor K, I was talking to a girlfriend of mine, and she said, we were just talking about, again, the stuff that we go through in life and just trying to figure things out, right? We're both women of a certain age. And she said she was listening to something or somewhere, and the person said, if you were to write, if your life is a book, what is the title of this current chapter? I thought that was a profound question.
that is very profound. It kind of reminds me of when we started having a conversation of what to name our podcast. Because we were trying to, we started off with our original topic, working 11 hours, was legally too much. And how resonated with people. And I think as we started processing what we doing too much meant, we eventually came to the conclusion that, hey, that really has to do with a lot of life and how life be life and a little too much, at times. And we go through cycles. And that's how we ended up with Cycles of Radiance. Because yes, we go through all these cycles, but as we get older, hopefully we're coming through these cycles radiantly. And even the cycles in our youth, we came through radiantly. In some of them, we just didn't really acknowledge them as such during the time, perhaps. But looking back, there was a lot of radiance that came from all those cycles that we went through. And so that comes to mind when you say, like, what would you title this chapter of your life? I mean, I'm still going through cycles. Sometimes it feels like we're in a washing machine, but
Truth. I was thinking about it, and I'm like, I had lots of different titles, like,
of course you did, because you're a writer.
so many. One of the titles was "This Is Not What I Expected," and I thought about, because that is definitely a chapter.
Facts.
But then I thought about it again, and I wrote down "Greater is Coming," and I thought about right. It felt a little. Not that I won't write the other chapter, because I will, but I'm writing that one right now. But I really saw it as "Greater is Coming," and I thought about where I've been over the last 4 years and different things that have happened, and building and creating and planning, and just thinking about how I have developed over the last 4 years and the things that I've wanted to see differently in my life. And I think that there has to always be a measure of optimism in our lives about what's next, what's around the bend. It can't always be like it's a Mack truck or a train. There has to be a sense of, for me, there has to be a sense of something better is on the other side of this, of what I'm enduring,
For
of
sure.
what I'm frustrated about, or what I'm trying to do. And so I thought, yeah, greater's coming. There is something else on the other side of where I am right now. There's always ideas in my head and things that I want to do and want to see and want to be and want to have and all of that. And I thought, yeah, greater's coming. We'll see.
For sure, greater is coming. Um, you're blessed and highly favored and beyond talented. So greater is coming. And there's great right now in the present. It's just the lens that we use, I think, sometimes to view our current situation, but there's lessons and blessings in our current situation. But when you were mentioning about greater is coming, I couldn't help but turn on my Pastor K lens and think of,
Oh Lord, here we go. Get ready, y'all.
greater is coming because God's coming. So God's gonna come and pick us up from this daycare, this raggedy daycare. So
With broken plumbing and sagging
he is,
ceilings and all of that.
horrible smacks, if any.
Okay.
All right, stanky all the way around. So God is coming. So that is the greatest great that's ever gonna great, right? So I think if we have an eternity mindset, then some of the things that we're going through right now will get into a different perspective. I've heard this speak of several people that have received a diagnosis of cancer. And I let that sink in, right? Like, I know several people that received a diagnosis of cancer. First of all, what is happening? But second, I think when we think of that, so when you get that kind of diagnosis and you go through these different health situations, it redefines what great is. And it redefines what's good. So it kind of shifts things into a different perspective. And when I heard those diagnoses, I was like, man, I really need to be grateful for what I have and what I don't. And so, but I think I'm titling the chapter, I guess, the chapter of the book, because I think we have so many chapters. I think about mindset adjustment. It keeps on popping up. So because of I think that, oh, this and this could be happening. I hear something like that, and it whips me right back into perspective. Like, hey, be very grateful for what you have and don't have, and also to still, I guess, everything that's happening around us, we look at all of that, and sometimes it's hard to maintain the optimism.
Let's talk about that.
And I'm a woman of faith like you are, and so yeah, I wanna I want to have hope, right? Because I have hope in God, and He's always going to come through, and He's faithful. And so I have to keep my eyes on Him, because as soon as I start looking everywhere, I'm like, man, this looks like a hot mess out here, and it's not hopeful. You have to seek the hope, which is contrary, I think, to God's plan, right? I mean, He was all about perfection and everything would be great, and we've messed it up. And so what was supposed to be the norm is now not the norm. There's a lot of devastation. And so it's hard sometimes to maintain the optimism and maintain the hope. And we have to really look for it in like these little pockets, these little gems, and the interactions that we have with people. Like, we've got to really seek out the hope so we can maintain that optimism, because we're still here, and there's still we're still in this raggedy daycare, Stacey. And so how do we maintain hope and optimism when we're in a raggedy daycare that has poor plumbing, as I mentioned earlier, and the snacks are not great, all the things? Like, how do we I don't even say that hope and optimism because we need it, because that's what helps us. That's what fuels us, as you were saying earlier, to do good work, to continue making impact. So, like, as you were mentioning earlier, like, greater is to come. Yes, you need to have that hope, because that's what's going to help carry you through the present and get through all the trials, all the tribulations, all the challenges, and, radiate through all of that. So you can get to the greater. So you need that hope. How do you hold on to that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
I feel
yeah.
like it's a struggle right now to really hold on to it. Like
Oh, for sure.
you almost come across as a little countercultural or crazy when you're trying to hold on to that hope and that optimism.
For
People look at you
sure.
funny.
For sure. Hope is like trying to hold on to a rope of sand.
That
Um,
is a great description.
in a world where there are things way out of your control. There's I don't even need to go through the list because it's depressing, right? To even think about the list of things. But I listened to 2 commencement speeches. Well, one was a commencement speech and one was a baccalaureate speech. And I found great hope in both of them. You know, graduation to
This
me
is not
is
the one from the NFL kicker then, if you found hope in
no.
it.
He can have several seasons. Dude should take a lesson from Dr. Daniel Black about how to produce a commencement speech, because that madness that he had to say,
Listen,
sir, stick to kicking, okay?
yeah,
Stick to what you know, boo, because encouraging students who are about to go into this world,
that's not
you
your skill.
yeah, you ain't have it. You ain't have it. So, but thank you. Have a seat. And there's plenty of them in that stadium you were speaking in. But the commencement speeches really were impactful. Graduation to me is a time of inspiration. It is a time of hope. These students have busted their tails to finish in 4 years or something close to it. And they have walked away from this institution with their degree. They've walked away knowing they can do it. Again, greater is coming, because I have finished 4 years of this. And I have earned my undergrad. I've earned my master's. I've earned my PhD. And now I can say, I can look back and be like, wow, everything that I had to go through, because life was happening while they were in college, right? People were getting sick. Maybe they got sick. There was all these things happening. And that was one of the things that both of the speakers talked about was, you're the class of 2024. You went to school in 2020 at the height of the pandemic. So your whole world has shifted. Like, you don't have an experience like we had, where you lived on campus, where you had community, where your whole thing was shifted. And you had to learn how to do online learning, and everything was different for you. And yet greater is coming. And that wasn't even that wasn't his focus. His what he talked about was he started with talking about who was in the room. And he gave a whole list of roles: anthropologists and ethnographers and sociologists and doctors and lawyers. And he just runs down this list. And there was so much energy in that room as he talked about who these students are and what they had endured and what they were going to do in the future. It was a powerful, powerful talk for Clark Atlanta University. And then the other gentleman is a pastor. And that brother shut it down. I heard a clip of it on Instagram. Both of them sounded like Baptist preachers. Dr. James, like, I'm not sure. I know he teaches African American studies, but brother was cold. The pastor, the pastor shut it down. The pastor said he talked about David and David's struggles. In, I want to say it was Psalm 3 was his text, and he talked about basically what that these students. It's one of those days. That's what it was. That was his text. He said, maybe you don't know that Monica wrote a song just one of them days. And
What we
he
do.
said, "Okay." And he was like, it's one of them days. You're having one of them days. Like throughout your college experience, it's been one of those days. You've had some struggles, you've had some frustrations, and yet here you are. He talked
Mm-hmm.
about his own experience of being in college and not doing well in the beginning, and then going on to Yale and to Vanderbilt and to get 2 masters, and then to be able to come back to Morehouse and
Mm-hmm.
be the baccalaureate speaker after all that he had been through. He's like, it was one of those days. And so again, it really made me think about greater is coming when you are a student of anything. And we're
Mm-hmm.
all students every single day.
Say it.
And you're having to figure out something, another way, another path. That's true for everybody. And I wonder sometimes if young people who are in school recognize that the exams don't stop just because you finish your degree. You will be learning every single day how to do something different. Your car broke down. You got to figure out what you're going to do to get that fixed. That somebody comes to your house and say, "Hey, did you know that you've got a shingle hanging off your roof and you got to get that fixed?" There's something you're learning all the time. Oh, wow, this is a new process. I've never had to put a roof on. Let me figure out how this process works. Or to your point, people finding out that they have a cancer diagnosis. You're in a whole different realm of learning about your body and about medications and about how the healthcare system works.
Okay.
Don't have an elderly parent because now you're in a whole different situation there too, where you're trying to figure out, okay, how does Medicare work? How does Medicaid work? Which one do they have? And
They don't work.
okay, right? So you're constantly learning, but you have to believe that greater is coming. Because to your point, if you don't have that hope that these 2 men tried to instill in these graduates, that even though it's been one of them days, greater is still coming, you still have something to look forward to look ahead to. We will get so discouraged in this life if we're not connected with people who, I mean, imagine you're in a stadium full of other graduates, the energy in that room.
It's amazing.
Right? And you don't have that when you leave. When you walk out of there, it was just you. That energy that you felt, that hope, that inspiration, that encouragement, that I can do this.
You don't well out.
Okay? Because you walk out of there and it's just you looking around and you're like, well, what?
Where's my hype crowd?
Okay. Okay, where is Dr. Black now?
You better have that on replay.
For real. For real. And it's not just true for them, it's true for us. We got to have it on replay.
Totally.
What are those moments in our life, those markers in the past and the markers that we're believing for in the future that let us know what I'm enduring right now, trouble won't last always. And I think that, hearing the old folks say that when I was a kid, I didn't understand it. I didn't understand after a while and by and by, and it came to pass and trouble won't last always. I didn't get it. But
Just
now,
pass.
okay. But now, having lived,
yeah.
but now, listen, the old folks they had a word for us.
They have this wisdom, and I know leading the Bible study group now, we have older women in the group, and I'm like, y'all need to talk. Y'all have wisdom that we need to hear. It's just not coming through as loudly, I feel, as it did before. That wisdom is so needed. I feel like in our society, we're so youth focused. And youth don't know nothing. Okay? What did you know when you were 20? Nothing. Okay? We need that wisdom. We need these women that have been through it. Or several it's. To share their wisdom. Because in sharing their wisdom, it gives us hope. Honestly. Because when you're in the thick of it, whatever it is, it can feel very consuming and not hopeful, right? And so you need someone that's like, hey, this is gonna pass, but this is how it's gonna feel when you're going through it, and then how you are gonna start getting to the other side of it, and you're gonna be transformed as you get to the other side. And that's the other piece is not discussed as much. Like, there's so much emphasis in your youth to figure out what you're going to be in this life. That's how you're going to be a lot of things in this life. A lot. You're going to have a whole lot of roles. You're going to transform. You're going to see who you are when you leave that college. If you went to college, and that graduation, that girl that was sitting in that seat is really different from the girl that's right here in this podcast. Like, she's been through something.
Say that.
Okay. But I think the beauty of going through that college experience or navigating those years, you don't realize it then, but it's building your resilience, resourcefulness, and hopefulness. That your ability to develop hope in the midst of struggle. That's really the exercise. Because you're struggling, I know for me, trying to work all these multiple jobs and going through college and trying to take the full course load and not understanding what the professor is saying or having the professor doesn't give a dang about what you're saying. All the things, right, that you go through that season. Aside from trying to have some fun or trying to have relationships and all the things that we try to embark on in that chapter in life. But it's an exercise on building hope in the midst of the struggle. It becomes a little bit easier, I think, when you're younger, because you have more health and energy in your favor, and you haven't been tarnished as much because you haven't lived that much. You haven't seen that much. So it's easier for you to develop hope because you're like, oh, it's going to be nice. It's going to be fine. You know, most things end up working out. But then as you get older, the struggles intensify. And it's a little bit harder to generate that hope. And that's where faith, I think, plays a bigger factor, and community plays a bigger factor. Because there are moments that you're flat out sitting in your struggle and you need someone else to speak hope into you and tell you this too shall pass. But I'll sit with you right now because I know what this feels like. But it's going to pass. And I think the best example of that is when you're dealing with grief, when that person passes, you feel like your life has completely fallen apart. And somehow through time and through the grace of God and the blessing of community, you put one foot in front of the other and you start living again as a transformed person. Because again, these experiences transform who you are. So I think I said a lot, but I'll shut up now.
Go ahead on and preach, Pastor K. Gosh, what you said earlier about you're going to be a lot of things in this life, you know, and that's the truth. You're going to be broke. It's going to happen.
You're going to be broke.
It's going to happen. It's a part of the cycle. You're going to be disappointed. It's a part of the cycle. It's not possible to always be at the top of the mountain. There's a hill to climb always. You're going to be happy on some days. Things are going to work out and be turned around in your favor, and you are going to be ecstatic. And there'll be some times when you'll be depressed. Like, how in the world did I get here? This is not what I expected. You're going to be a lot of things. And to your point about those who didn't go to college, they had a different school that they went to.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Right? Where they're like, I'm working 2 jobs. I'm carrying the load on my own. And they too are in school every single day, having to figure out how to make this thing work, how to learn this next thing to get to the next rung at their company, or how to build the company that they've started, or how to take care of their kids while they're also working a job, and then maybe taking some classes in the evening. Like, there is a whole thing, that each person is trying to do in this life. There's no straight path. There's no formula, which is the other thing that I feel like there's an assumption that there's a formula. Oh, I went to school, and there's a formula. You go to school and you take the exams and you do this, you do that. But life is happening throughout all of that. So that there is no formula. There is no, 1 + 1 = 2. Like, it just doesn't work that way in life. And I think that's where we get tripped up, because we have an assumption that that's how it's going to go, because we've been trained that way. School will have you thinking that there's a formula, that there's a plan, that there's a rubric, that there's a scorecard. And if I just do these things, then I earn. Okay. That's how that. I have met so many young people who have it in their mind, like, well, but I did these things, and they want to kind of show you a little checklist thing, and you're like, that was school, sweetheart. That's not life. There's no rubric here.
You got to create your own rubric.
That's right. That's right.
And figure it out.
That's it. Again, constant learning. Like, it never goes away. There's an exam every other week.
Sometimes every week.
Okay. You're being tested on a regular basis. You walk out your front door and it's a test. It's a test of, why is that person parked in front of my driveway? They're blocking my driveway. It's a test.
And I have to leave because I have to get to work.
Okay. It's a test every day.
Every day.
It's a loose dog running through the neighborhood. It's a test.
It's a test.
Like, okay, I don't have a pet, but I see that you have a loose dog just ripping and running through the neighborhood like nothing.
My car won't start.
It's a test.
A test. So many tests.
Right. But we've trained generations of people to think that I took the exam and I studied for it. I took the exam and I get the grade because there's this book full of information and I study what was taught. And since I prepared, I'm going to get this great grade and I'm going to be able to get to the next level. And it's like, that is not how life works. It's not. And so there's all of these things, I feel like, these markers in our lives where it's like, if you went to a traditional college, you went to school, or you went to a different type of school, whatever that was for you, and you were learning different things about how you're going to live this life, you recognize that there's no straight path, there's no formula. Nobody else really knows either.
That part.
Right? We're all trying to figure this thing out. Folks make it look like they know what's going on, but we've all sat in classes with other classmates and they furiously writing some on their paper and you're like, well, shit, how do you know the answer to this?
No, it turns out they don't. They're just BSing their way through the whole answer.
Okay. And you walk out of the room and you're like, you were writing a lot. And they're like, oh, I had no idea what I was saying. I just kept writing though.
I was writing a letter.
Okay.
I was doodling.
Okay. But they making it look like they know what time it is. They making it look like they know what's going on. So
they need some wisdom. We keep on trying to get wisdom from our peers, and I'm like, they're going through the same struggles you are. Like, get a level up.
That's right.
To the people that already went through some of this stuff, because then they can tell you what's up.
That's right. It's plenty of PhDs sitting out there unemployed. Plenty of PhDs sitting out there homeless. Plenty of PhDs sitting out there bankrupt. Doesn't mean that they don't have a PhD. Doesn't mean that they aren't worthy. Doesn't mean that they don't have value. But there's plenty of them that can tell you, I've been broke. And I did the whole school thing.
All of
plenty. It. And they're reinventing themselves right now. I was at a recruiting event the other day. And 200 people in the room. And the gentleman asked, like, why are folks in this room? Why are you here? And, people threw out different reasons. I'm here to network. I'm here to find a job. I'm here to upskill. I'm here to, connect with people. And he said, those are all great reasons. It's a recruiter event. You should be here to do all of that. He said, but are you here to help somebody? And you could hear a pin drop. And he said, this is about what you have that someone else doesn't have. And that goes to what you said about wisdom, Jay. You have something that somebody else in this room needs. Make sure that you give that to that person. And I thought, but I didn't know I was coming here to be inspired. But again, like we talked about hope, right? Catching hope, catching inspiration from something that somebody else has endured. This man said, I was out of work for 10 months and I had to do something. He said, so I'm working in an industry doing a job that I've never done before, that I have no skill to do. He's like, I work at a grocery store. He didn't describe what job he had at the grocery store, if he was a bagger, a checker, a manager. He didn't say. But he let us know, I had to take a step to the side. I'm underemployed. And yet I am here on this stage presenting to you all for the next 10 minutes and then sending you to go talk to these recruiters and get what you need and give something to somebody else. That's powerful. When you can look at your own life and say, you know what, this is not what I expected.
I feel like that chapter is super long.
Oh, okay.
It's like extra long.
That chapter is like half the book. That chapter gets repeated. there's
like variations of.
Okay, there's a dash. Exactly. That's not what I expected for my health. This is not what I expected in my finances. This is not what I expected in my family. This is not what I expected my hair to look like.
Oh.
You name it.
You name it. There's like a list of unexpected. They be showing up all the time. Consistently. Unexpected.
Consistent. But those 200 people, were really representative of 200 graduates. These folks were credentialed. These people, they had the skills to pay the bills, and they needed something. And that man on that stage was the commencement speaker in many ways. He was the one saying, there's hope here, y'all. Don't give up. Recognize that you matter. Don't put your worth in your salary or your job or your title. Don't worry about being underemployed. You're still here. And you have value. It was a very powerful time that I didn't expect it.
The unexpected, but in a good way.
Well, this is not what I expected.
That's not what I expected, but it was good.
But it was good.
Usually it's not what I expected is usually bad stuff. But sometimes it can be good. It's like, oh, that was a pleasant surprise. Thank you for that. Yeah, I find networking events, they become less, they become more palatable if you walk in with the mindset of who can I help here today? It gives you more courage to talk to people. And then it also reminds you of what you know and how you can contribute, because we're quick to forget that. So I love that. But you brought up earlier a point that I love that you expanded on the formula piece and how we're walking around, thinking, oh, there's a formula for things, and there isn't. There isn't a formula for anything. Like you have to figure it out. But I also wanted to hone in on the living high. Like, we've gotten used to like everything should be great, and you're not always at the top of the hill. If you look at the top of the hill, it's a very small space. So how many people could be at the top of the hill at the same time? There's way more room on the way up the hill and the way down the hill. Isn't that all I remember?
Well,
so I just wanted to put that visual in perspective so we again reorient our expectations. Most of our time is going to be spent going up the hill or going down the hill. So we really need to embrace the journey up and the journey down. Like, that's where we're going to be spending most of our lives. We're going to have these peaks. And they're going to be great, amazing. You want to bubble that up. Oh my gosh, it's the best. Yes. But most of our time is going to be spent up and down. So how do we really learn to embrace that journey, learn from it, and continue having hope? Because that's going to be most of our space. So I think if we need to orient our expectations, because especially some of the younger folks that are growing up in a very digital environment, everything is accessible. They've had different hardships. I'm not discrediting the hardships. It's just a different life that they've had, and so there's a lot of portraying that everything is great, that everybody's on a hill at all times, because of all the social influences. Right. And so it makes it seem like people are constantly on top of the hill. And I'm like, no, That is not the truth. So you see this picture of somebody in Bali living their best life, but they're not talking about the journey to get to Bali. Okay, it may have taken a few years, savings, multiple jobs, connecting with people, whatever the case might be. But there was a journey
Talk
to
about
get
it.
to Bali,
Talk
right?
about it.
And then once the Bali trip is over,
Mm.
you coming back
Mm.
to whatever your humble home is
Mm.
and your life. So what does that look like? So sometimes we like to spend a lot of time preparing for the hill or avoiding the hill. And I'm like, you do realize if you look at a hill, there are homes scattered all the way up the hill, all the way down the hill.
Mm-hmm.
There's people, there's homes in all parts of that hill. So how do you make your residence on multiple parts of the hill? And how do you nurture your residents in all parts of the hill so that your life is more filling? And it doesn't mean that you're not going to strive to get to the hill. You will. That's how people are trying to get down from the hill because it became too small, too stifling, too many expectations. It was too much. The air was thinner, whatever. And they're like, you know what? I just need to come down. I want some simplicity. So I just wanted to touch on that because sometimes we glorify the hill. And I'm like, the hill ain't for everybody. There are plenty of people that got to the hill and they're like, you know what? This is not what it's cracked up to be. This is not what I expected.
This is not what I expected.
This is not what I expected. It looked prettier in the pictures. I would like to get down from this hill. I need something. I need a flatter surface. I don't like mowing the lawn on a hill. It's very frustrating. I like the flat. It works out better. It's easier. You know what I mean? Like, so we glorify the hill, and I'm like, it's not for everybody. It may not even be for you. Like, for you. So I guess what I'm trying to say, instead of spending so much energy and time trying to get to the hill, can you spend time nurturing where you are and enjoying your journey up the hill, and take your time with it? And realize also you may not be at the hill for a long time. It's like when people climb Mount Everest, it takes months. It's not a few day jaunt. It's months. Because their body needs to acclimate and they need all these preparations and all this community support to get to the peak. And when they get to the peak, how long are they up there?
A hot second. They can't stay up there too long.
They can't stay up there that long. And then they got to be very careful on the way down, because on the way down, there's more deaths than on the way up. Because people have exhausted themselves to get to the top. And they have pushed really hard to get to the top. And sometimes when they shouldn't. And so now the way down is more treacherous. Provide that perspective. Because when I heard that, I was like, maybe the valley is fine. Maybe the flat on the bottom of the hill is just fine. I was offering that up.
Well, on that note, have hope, y'all. Have hope.
Have hope at all parts of the hill and the valley. Have hope. Have hope. Generate hope throughout all parts. Because we need hope. That's what helps us continue moving forward and doing good work and getting through our trials and tribulations. But also, I think we could use a dose of appreciating where we are in our journey, because there could be some beauty and some lessons, and also a very strong invitation from God to get closer to Him, so He can help us navigate all of that. But yeah, don't be rushing to get up to that top of Mount Everest. You might not get there.
Write your chapter, y'all.
Write your chapter. You're writing your book, whether you're doing it intentionally or not. So what's the name of your Let us know. And our Instagram page. And we are coming on Spotify and YouTube if you want to see all the facial expressions. But let us know what the name of the chapter of what chapter in life are you in? Thank you for joining us at Cycles of Reading.
Till next time. We hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Our desire is to empower, support, and elevate you on this collective journey towards a fulfilled life. We invite you to connect and find community with us on Instagram as Cycles of Radiance.